Scalpel.
Scalpel.
Sponge.
Sponge.
Clamp.
Clamp.
Terrier.
Terrier.
What the?
Blood pressure 900/12, Doctor.
Get me 15 deciliters of phenylalanine, stat.
Still nothing, Doctor.
Damn. Hand me those electrocardial stimulators, nurse.
The what?
The jumper cables, you fool! Hurry!
Oh, here.
Clear!
I'm still not getting anything, Doctor.
Again! Clear! Live, damn you, live!
Doctor, we've lost him.
Damn! So, you want to go out for a drink?
I'm Gaz, and this is Let's Play Afterlife. This is by far my favorite city building game ever, even more so than any game in the SimCity line. As you may be able to tell from the title, Afterlife deals with building an afterlife, heaven or hell or both. You take the role of the demiurge and try and build a suitable afterlife for the planet. This game was made by LucasArts back when LucasArts made more than just Star Wars related games. And actually, I found out about this game from a friend, and back in the day, sort of back at the end of what I call the golden age of LucasArts games, they started releasing all of their games in these archive collections. So it would usually have at least one Star Wars game, like X-Wing versus TIE Fighter or something like that, and then include some of their other adventure games like, Monkey Island or Full Throttle or The Dig. Anyway, one Christmas, my friend got a bunch of new computer games, invited me over to come look at them. His favorite, of course, being the brand new expansion to this cool game called Warcraft 2. And that was a long time ago. And anyway, he also had one of these LucasArts collections. And I remember playing The Dig with him, and we were struggling with the puzzles, but this game in particular he just didn't like. He was not a fan of city building and all that stuff, and so he gave it to me. And I've played it for a very long time. I'm still not an expert at it. In fact, I have never actually quote-unquote won the game. There are many ways to lose, more so than SimCity. I think it's actually easier to lose. The one way that you can actually win the game is by getting to the special buildings that kind of work like arcologies in SimCity 2000. I doubt very much I will get any of those during this Let's Play. Anyway, let's go ahead and start. Let's just start on easy. Actually, I'm going to go through the tutorial before I get started. Not really for myself. I mean, having a refresher would be nice, but because I think I need to introduce you to the two advisors here, because their dialogue is superb, and let's lower the audio. Anyway, let's get started. This way I don't have to explain how to play the game, and it's just good for everybody. So that's probably what the first, maybe second, maybe even third episodes are going to be about. I will label the episodes as tutorials. So if that is not really your thing and you just want to skip to gameplay, then go ahead and do so. Anyway, let's begin.
Good afternoon, Your Holiness, and welcome. I look forward to assisting you in your new role as demiurge of this planet. My name is Jasper Wormsworth, And I am certain when you have seen the services I can provide, we can strike a deal that will be mutually beneficial.
Welcome, 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 boss. I'm Aria Goodhalo, and I'm your heavenly helper. Hiya, Wormy.
Look what the cherubs dragged in. We'll discuss my compensation later.
Oh, Pooh, don't be such a meanie.
Let's get down to business then, shall we? We're here to help you set up a smoothly running hell.
And heaven.
If we must. But let's use hell as our initial example. It's so much more interesting.
And uglier.
As I was saying before Featherbrain intruded, the first thing you need to do is set up a gate to allow souls to enter the infernal regions. Click on the first button in the third row. Here, I'll do it for you. And you will see a display of potential gates. Since you're new on the job and your resources are limited, I'll just pick out the most, well, economical of the three. Now we find a parcel of open real estate and place it by clicking on the map, like so. Welcome.
Ooh, but it looks so empty out there all by its lonesome.
Much like your head, my dear. Actually, the virtuous little ninny does have a point. All we've built thus far is a gate, an entrance into hell. If we want anything to happen in hell, we'll need to build some punishments. Before we build our punishments, let's lay down some road so the poor sods have some way to get to them. We do that by clicking on the road button, then clicking next to the gate, then holding down the mouse to drag the road out until it covers a good long distance. We can start zoning for punishments now. So I'll go up to those solid colored blocks at the top of your remote control. Each color represents one of the 7 deadly sins. I'll start with the green one, envy, one of my personal favorites. Now I'll find an open spot by the road and click and drag to create a 3x3 envy zone. Simplicity itself. We then do the same with the other 6 sins, and voila! A scrumptious little mini hell.
Well, heaven can wait, but not forever, you know. Let's just scroll up. That's it. And put down a pretty little gate right here. Isn't that spiffy?
Adorable.
Oh, don't be naughty, Wormy. Oops, I forgot. That's your job, isn't it? Now we need some road and lay out our reward zones. There you go, boss. Don't you just love it? Now let's change your tempo to mortal plotting. And wow, look at those little buildings go. It's official. You're in the afterlife business.
Okay. End of tutorial 1. Yeah, let's put that on no divine intervention. It was fine where it was. Okay. Because this game was meant for Windows 95 and is a DOS game, running it on these faster tempos is just outrageously fast. Much more so than it should be, and the volume is still pretty crazy here. Okay, so let's go on to Lost Souls.
Oh, geez, boss, you're in a pickle. Have you noticed those great big colored spiky things with colored balls on the top? Those mean you're losing souls.
Ah, yes. I've been meaning to talk to you about that.
Well, gosh darn it, Wormy, it's important. Think about all those poor wandering spirits without an eternal home.
Actually, I was thinking more about the impact on the eternal budget. Lost souls equals lost pennies.
Well, that's important too, I guess. Anyway, boss, here's what you do. First, let's look at the color of the lost soul spike. It's blue. This means that here in heaven, souls are looking for humility rewards, but can't find any.
Or it could signify that the heavens' humility rewards are full.
Yeah, that too. In any case, the easiest way to fix the problem is to add more humility zones. Just click on the humility zoning button, which is coincidentally the same color as the lost soul spike, and drag a new area of humility zoning nearby. In a few years, your losses will be a thing of the past.
As you may have surmised, the color of the lost soul's spike indicates the color you need to zone for. If you see a green spike, make more green zones, a brown spike, more brown zones, etc.
Sometimes you can lose souls because your roads aren't connected. Like these two. Just hook them up with another road tile and say bye-bye to your lost souls. Bye-bye.
By the way, sir, if you should ever notice one of those lost soul spikes with a miniature karma station on top, you might wish to check the road and karma track connections to your karma station bases and your karma portal bases. And if perchance you should spot a miniature gate on top of a spike, make sure you have enough properly connected gates to handle the influx of population.
Why, Wormy, you were positively helpful.
My dear Miss Goodhalo, helpful is my middle name.
I thought it was Herbert.
All right. They mention a few things there. You can see the karma portals here, and here is the connection in hell and the connection in heaven. I think there's a tutorial on karma. Yes, it's the next one. Let's go straight to it.
Many souls will, after a time, choose to reincarnate themselves into a new body on the planet. It's imperative that you, the demiurge, meet these souls' reincarnation needs.
Unfortunately, the only way a soul can reincarnate is by going through a karma portal, which is a trans-dimensional nexus thingy that floats halfway between heaven and hell.
When a soul enters a karma portal, it's instantaneously transported to its new body and its new life.
Ooh, and it makes a neat little purple flash of light.
This is all well and good, but it does beg the question, how are you, the demiurge, going to get your souls all the way from here to here?
Ooh, I know.
Oh, all right, go ahead.
The way to get souls to the karma portals is with karma vehicles, which run on karma track and are dispatched from karma stations.
Well, that certainly clears everything up.
No, really, it's easy. Look. First, click on the karma station button on your remote. Now pick a karma station. I'm going to choose the least expensive one because it's early in the game. Now, find an empty place near your road and drop your new karma station.
You know, that building doesn't look anything like the karma station you selected.
That's because that building is the karma station anchor that holds the real station in place, you silly. The real karma station is floating directly above it. Halfway between heaven and hell, see?
I see. But why is the karma station anchor all black and cracked?
That's 'cause the karma station hasn't been hooked up to the karma portal with some karma track, Grumplepuss. Watch. First, I'll click on the karma track button. Now I'll click and drag a karma track from my karma station to the karma portal. Voila!
I'm sorry, but I don't see any karma track. All I see are several cheesily cycling blue squares.
That's because you're not looking up, silly boy. See, there's the karma track we just built. Like the karma station, the karma track is anchored in hell, but actually exists in between heaven and hell. If we watch for a couple of seconds, we'll probably even see a karma train go by, whisking souls back to the planet.
Most impressive. I assume the procedure is similar in heaven.
Oh, you betcha. In fact, since heaven and hell share the same karma track, I can connect heaven's first karma station to the existing track by dropping it next to those blue squares. Now I've built a functional karma station for heaven that's connected to karma track that's anchored in hell. Wow, boss, you've managed to get 50,000 souls into heaven. To mark the occasion, the mysterious powers that be have left a Vista Enhancement doohickey at your doorstep. Isn't that nice of them?
That wasn't supposed to happen. Oh, crap. Karma 3. Okay, I'm gonna have to restart this. Okay. So, that thing that popped up there was actually a reward. And I think we will explain those later, but apparently the game was running so fast that it managed to actually fit 50,000 people into the tutorial, thus interrupting the tutorial. Moving on.
Here Here, Your Eminence, we have a shining example of an afterlife that isn't operating at maximum efficiency. How, you may ask, do I know this? Well, if you'll allow me to bring up a personnel graph from your remote control, as you can see, this afterlife doesn't have any homegrown angels or demons, and its entire workforce is commuting.
Oh, that's because it doesn't have any training centers or topias yet.
And would little Miss Goody Two Wings like to explain what training centers and topias are?
Why, I'd love to.
That's peachy. Knock yourself out.
Well, gee, training centers, like train processed souls to become demons or angels. If all your demons and angels are homegrown, they'll be much less expensive, especially if you give them someplace to live so they won't have to commute. That's where the topias come in. In heaven, they're called utopias. In hell, they're called dystopias. But either way, it's a place for your workforce to live so they don't have to commute, so you can save more money to reward your souls.
Or to torment them. At any rate, since training centers only recruit fully processed, permanently residing souls, it's a good idea to place your centers by a road, smack dab in the middle of your fate structures, like so. And now I'll put one in hell. We should also have topias in both realms. They don't need to be next to a road, since angels and demons can fly. But it's nevertheless a good idea to put them near fully realized fate structures, since they exert powerful vibes that help buildings to evolve. So let's try one here in hell and one here in heaven. Now I'll crank up the tempo and wait a few years. Very good. Now let's check the chart, shall we? Ah, most satisfactory. The only thing better than an eager demon is an inexpensive one.
You know, I don't know if it's prematurely ending the tutorials that way, or what. Because every time you click on a screen, it does that. It ends the tutorial. Oh well, moving on.
Just as the successful politician depends on public opinion polls and a little healthy graft to stay in office, the successful demiurge must keep an eye on the relevant graphs and charts to maintain a successful afterlife. Let's check out the graphs first and see what they can do. Going from the top down, the first one displays the distribution of belief systems. With this graph, you can tell what percentage of your afterlife's population believes in reincarnation. How many only believe in heaven, how many only believe in hell, that sort of thing. The second graph breaks down your afterlife's population by sin or virtue. The darker colors represent permanent residents, the lighter colors temporary residents, and the hollow lines represent available housing for that quality. The third chart shows how close some of your special purpose buildings are to being full. As the solid area creeps toward the top, it's time to build new structures. The next graph is the history graph, which charts your afterlife's population growth, income, outcome, and other variables over time.
Are you done yet?
Not quite. The fourth chart shows the composition of your workforce. Remember, homegrown angels and demons are cheaper than imported ones, and resident workers are cheaper than commuting ones. So keep an eye on those training centers and topias. That pretty much wraps up the graphs.
I think maps are nicer. They're more organic.
I gather that you wish to take over the discussion at this point.
Don't you want to share?
That's not exactly in my nature. Consider yourself free to ramble on.
Okay. Anyway, let's shift into the map view by either clicking on the window menu or using the icon on your remote control. Personally, I like the cute little pictures, so we'll just click there. And here's our map view. The map view can show you a top-down view of either heaven or hell, and you can flip between the two with the harp and the pitchfork buttons. See? Heaven, hell. Heaven, hell. Heaven, hell. Rabbit season, duck season, fire! Oh, sorry, where was I? Oh yeah, the map view. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of buttons here, all of which can be kinda useful. This one, for example, shows how many temporary and permanent soul residents you've got in your fate structures, which can be very useful when you're trying to balance your fate structure's resources. This button shows the efficiency of your fate structures, which is determined by a number of factors that we'll get into later. This next button shows the good and bad vibes that are hovering over your buildings. Vibes can affect the efficiency of your fate structures, so it's a good idea to keep track of them. Some buildings, like topias and gates, emit very strong vibes, so be careful where you put them. And remember, in hell, bad vibes are good. This button shows how full your buildings are, which should be pretty darn self-explanatory. This button shows you zoning, which is good for getting a cheap overview of your layout. Whew! We're in the home stretch now, boss. This button shows how crowded your roads are. You can save a few pennies by keeping your traffic on the light side. This is the Karma button, and it'll show you a diagram of your Karma stations, Karma track, and Karma portals. And this last button, Yippee! Shows which structures are carrying an empowering ad infinitum charge, which is vital in making your fate structures evolve. And whew! That's all there is to the maps.
Okay. That tutorial was broken. And, most likely because where is my... Okay, I seem to have lost my cursor. Damn it. I have to restart again. Okay. So, let's go over what they were unable to tell us. But damn it. Well, anyway, this first chart, yeah, showed what everyone thought, you know, whether they believe in hell or heaven, both, whether they believe in reincarnation, that you saw in the pie chart. This is the population graph. There's no one living here right now, but I will be referring to that chart a lot, so you will see it. This one shows how full my structures are, my gate stations, my topias. I have to reset this every time. It doesn't save the settings. All that stuff. The line graph. Okay. Now this shows all the labor that they were talking about, the imported and the commuting, how much it's costing me, as well as their angel quotient or demon quotient, which I guess is how good they are. This graph has nothing, and then here's the budget graph. Okay, and now the map graph that she was talking about is this. And let's see, how do I... Okay. Zoom in, zoom out, and I can see heaven or hell. This shows the vibes. No, this shows the temporary and the permanent. Now, permanent are the ones that can be recruited for your angels or demons. Good grief. Okay. Temporary souls are the ones that will choose to reincarnate. This is your efficiency, this is your vibes. Vibes are very important in the same way that appeal is important in Zeus. If you've been watching that LP, here's the capacity, self-explanatory, it's like density. Here are the different zones, which when we have zones will actually matter. The traffic on the roads. Let's see, this shows track to all my karma stuff, so right now I can see where the karma portals are. And this shows powered and unpowered structures. So, I will be looking at those quite frequently when I start playing the game. Let's move on to Limbos.
So, my dear Ms. Good Halo, would you like to enlighten the demiurge on the subject of limbo bars?
Ew! Those things are so... Ew!
I don't know why we allow them in heaven to begin with.
Frankly, I'm not too fond of them either. Hell loathes second chances. However, duty calls, so... Limbo bars, your mightiness, are temporary havens for lost souls. Those displaced spirits who for one reason or another cannot find what they're looking for in the afterlife. Normally, lost souls drift out of your afterlife forever, causing you to lose many a penny for each one that slips from your grasp.
With limbo bars, though, you can temporarily stave off your losses.
Regrettably, yes. Here's how it works. Consider this little slice of heaven over here. Just 4 kicks will destroy the road that connects it with the rest of heaven.
Hey, stop it!
Shh! I'm making a point. As you would expect, without the connecting road, souls are being lost left and right. Here's where a limbo bar comes in handy. I'll just click on the limbo bar button, pick a bar, and put it down somewhere where we can see it. Once I've started the simulation running again, you'll notice that the lost soul spikes have disappeared and that the limbo bar's little canisters are moving up and down. This means that the limbo bar is attracting customers and entertaining them until the road is fixed.
You mean getting them drunk, don't you?
Well, yes. Studies have found that the only thing that can keep a lost soul from drifting off is the promise of free beer. Unfortunately, each limbo bar is equipped with only a limited supply of inebriants, and when they run out, boom.
So it's a good idea not to count on your limbo bars too much.
Okay, quick and easy. Limbo bars are a very good escape when you've sort of screwed yourself over, or if a disaster comes and causes a lot of mayhem. Rocks and siphons.
So, like who's gonna tell the boss about the rocks?
Rocks. You actually have something to say about rocks. I knew heaven was stiflingly boring, but you really have so little conversational material that you spend your time talking about rocks?
Not ordinary rocks, silly. I'm talking about the big old rocks so heavy the boss can't lift them. You know, the ones that you find all over the plains of heaven and hell.
Oh, those rocks. Yes, they're so much more interesting than plain old dull rocks. Why don't you go talk to them instead of boring us with your constant prattle?
Because the boss needs to know about how the siphons work. See this button here, boss? That's the one that brings up the ad infinitum siphons. It also brings up banks, but we'll talk about those later. Siphons draw little bits of infinity, what we call ad infinitum, from the rocks. When you put a siphon down next to a rock like this, the rock begins to pulse, showing that you've tapped into it.
Did it ever occur to you that the demiurge might like to know why he'd want to tap into ad infinitum?
Oh yeah, duh. Thanks, Wormy. The ad infinitum energy helps make your fate structures evolve. With ad infinitum, you'll get much larger and keener looking rewards and punishments. Without it, you'll never see some of the afterlife's better buildings. Ever.
Is that all you have to say about rocks?
Did I mention that the siphons have to touch other buildings, roads, or rivers to spread the ad infinitum?
You have now.
Okay then, I'm done.
Say good night, Arya.
Good night, Arya.
Yeah, those siphons are pretty important, but there is a very easy way. This isn't a very good map, but there's a very easy way to spread them around your afterlife. And if you just find a rock like this one that is near the river will hold the charge of your ad infinitum. So if you make a bunch of siphons right here, it will connect, and if you connect your afterlife via a road or a port or something to the river, then it will spread that. So I generally use that. Now let's talk about ports.
Ports are relatively simple, so maybe I can enlighten you without the poster girl for terminal virtue butting in. If you want souls to travel across one of the rivers in heaven or hell, use your port button to choose a port. Then place one on each side of the river opposite each other. Soon you will be delighted to discover graceful craft punting up and down the waterways of the realm. Don't forget that ports, like all your structures, have maximum capacities, so check on them occasionally, either through the microview or the appropriate graph, and don't allow them to become overloaded.
Yeah, that was a pretty simple one. They didn't actually talk about banks, even though Arya said they would. So I guess I will. Banks, as you can imagine, will give you money in loans. Heaven's banks don't charge interest. Hell's banks do. However, because you can build in both heaven and hell, even if you're just making hell, you can throw a couple banks up in heaven and use that to your advantage. Generally, I try not to use them at all, but that's not always possible. There's a few other things they didn't mention. This little red square here, in the middle of both heaven and hell, is the shadow of the planet. You cannot build a karma rail through that, or a karma track, sorry. So you have to build around it. Also, they didn't mention that you can influence the planet, I think by going here. So you can sort of skew the inhabitants to your afterlife. And right now there's only one group on the planet, right here. Yeah, that's mountain. So, you know, if people aren't coming to your afterlife, like if you're only building one or the other, and people still believe in heaven, but you've only built hell, you can influence them to be evil. So they will start sending more people to hell. Or if you've got too many people coming in, you can influence them to be good, and they will all go to heaven and disappear and sort of take a load off. Yeah, so you can change the sins and virtues, you can change the tenets, so if you want them to believe in both heaven and hell, one or the other, if you want them to believe that no afterlife exists, so they don't come at all, or whether or not they believe in karma, whether or not they believe in, what is this? Sumeism, yeah, in the manual it talks about everything that these acronyms stand for. And I guess right now we can talk about souls are the stuff of the stuff of unending life of the Limbos. The Limbos are the inhabitants of the planet, and it stands for ethically mature biological organism. You can, with this button right here, look at the various souls in your afterlife and read about their lives as Limbos. I might do that from time to time. But while we're here, let's also talk about the fact that you can adjust the technology level of your inhabitants. Right now they only know fire. Eventually they can go on, and there are a few things that come with this. As they advance, wars will become more costly, there will be more deaths. I think my audio is cutting out again. And so obviously that means a bigger influx of souls to your afterlife. Also, there are a few cheats to this game, and a couple different ending screens, but one that you generally don't know about or find out about because it's very hard to achieve is at the very beginning of the game, like this, when there's only one square. If I used the money cheat, and I think I'll probably do a separate video for cheats themselves because they're kind of amusing. But if you use the money cheat so that you can, right at the beginning of the game, advance these people to the highest technology, which is advanced golf, they will not spread out. So there will only be this one square of Limbos on the planet. And if a meteor comes and crashes onto this, it will destroy the square, killing all the inhabitants of the planet, and you will lose. And that is an ending screen that is very rare because, like I said, you have to go through all of that to get to it. I'm sure there are other events that could wipe out the planet, but because they just spread all over, and when a square gets wiped out, it just sort of spreads back in, it's very difficult to get that through a natural means. So, just so you know about that. I'm sure we will discover many of the other ones as time goes on. Let's see, what else? Right, these are the love domes and omnibolges, something like that. Anyway, these are the arcologies of this game, and when you get them, you basically win, because it takes 1 billion souls in your afterlife to get to it, to unlock it, and as soon as you put one down, they can contain 1 billion souls. I think the bigger ones can contain 1 billion souls. So basically, once you get to that point, these are just self-contained buildings that will take care of everything, and you can just fill your afterlife with them, and that's basically the end of the game. Next to it here, we have the rewards, and this is what interrupted the tutorial earlier. At various population hallmarks, you get these rewards, and they put out vibes in successively larger amounts, which is very important. I think we talked about everything else here. Ports, limbo bars, okay. Management, right. So I think they mentioned it a little bit earlier, but as you put down your rewards and punishments, there are 2 population types. There's temporary population and permanent population. And throughout the game, you have to balance them. Because if they go out of balance, that reward will not evolve. And so if you want the best rewards or punishments, best structures basically, you need to constantly be keeping them balanced. Now you can use the macro manager here, but it's not very good. So throughout the game, I will be micromanaging, going from building to building individually. It's very time consuming, and I will cut it out as best I can, but it is very important, especially early on, to get big structures and reduce the sprawl of things. Also, well, I guess we can just talk about the roads real quick. Roads work a little bit differently in heaven and hell, because in hell they prefer you have long roads that take forever to walk to, because it's sort of a punishment for your souls to have to walk to your or their final punishment. So if your road is too efficient, Jasper will complain. Heaven is the opposite. They like short roads and a very efficient system, so people can get to the rewards faster. There are bad things which screw over both heaven and hell. You can turn them off, but it reduces your income by half, which makes it almost impossible to win early on, or to stay in the game early on, because you lose a lot more money, and it is a lot harder to get into the black than it is in SimCity. So I will be playing with them on. Hopefully that won't screw over. Oh, and the rewards also have the added bonus of deflecting some of the bad things. So if you have all 5 of the rewards, they will stop all of the bad things from happening in that realm. So that is also why they are important. Yeah. Okay, I think that's enough. I think we will start with a real Afterlife next time.